back with a bit of an update about the boiling vessel or cooking vessel, or these get referred to by a number of different terminologies. Now, no doubt some of you who have seen my previous videos are probably screaming about this connection. Well, I've got news for you. We can pull it off today, because this arrived and my camera tipped over. This is a genuine original plug for the thing, and I've got some chunks of solder in there I need to prise out first, but we'll test fit this in a minute. But this means I can finally connect the damn thing properly. Now, I have found that one element, particularly this one, has gone to about 1.8 mega ohms, which means it's probably blown. I have found a source of 2 more of them, and I might be able to trade one of them trade this one for a working one, because the owner of those two has them for display units. He doesn't actually use them. So, for exchange for a little bit of cash and a bit of a trade, I can probably get one with 2 working elements, which would be nice. Anyway, let's get the solder pried out of this plug and see if we can fit it. Alright, a bit of contact cleaner in both of these and one into the socket. This whole lead needs a proper clean, which I'll do before fitting it properly. Okay, so there is a keyway at the top. Aha, that's just a cam lock. Alright, that's what I like to see. Alright, now it's designed to fit in a bay in a tank. That's why everything's all in the front, not out the side or the back. But, no, it's what we have. Alright, that's going to be good. That's connecting perfectly, and with a bit of contact cleaner, they've all come up nice and shiny. Alright, well, we're inside and we just committed sacrilege. We cut the plug off, but it also needs a really good clean. So there's this identifying clamp on here as well. I think we're going to remove all these straps on here, and I'm going to give these all a good clean with a bit of spray and wipe, because I just don't want to be handling this all the time in its current state. And we'll see what we can do for this connector. Then we'll see if we can fit 2 of these each into one of those connectors. We might just do it. We'll see how that goes, and hopefully I won't melt my keyboard with my brand new Mr. Stoner Torch Senior. I'll come up with a proper name for that one day. Anyway, let's get cleaning with this. I'm going to do a lot of that off camera, just because I'm feeling a bit tired today and I can't quite keep up with filming everything. Alright, so it's had a clean up and lots of dirt on the rag, but we've got it nice and clean. There's still probably a little bit more to come off here. So I've also been out and identified which cables are which, so that I can get them in the contacts. The next job, because I've cut all the original wrapping off here, is to try and find a bit of heat shrink tubing and just reinsert some of that on the cable here and get it nicely organized, because I don't really want to do insulation tape around there unless I have to. But now that I've got it cleaned, so yeah, let's find some heat shrink. We have some heat shrink tubing threaded onto this. Now we want to get this nice and straight, which means doing one of these at a time and hopefully not melting my desk. New torch is not as easily doesn't lend itself easily to one-handed use, but let's try. Oh, I've got to get, and that is aiming towards my screen. That's not good. Okay, I didn't get my leads in the right order before doing this, and that is important because I'll have to start again if I get it wrong here. Okay, so that should be about right. Let's give this a crack. Shrink it a bit and pull our leads into place just nicely as I shrink it a bit more. This is going to take a while to do all of these, but we've got to retrain this cable so it looks nice. Okay, so now we've got about a dozen more to go, but we'll let this one cool and we'll work our way down and we'll show you the next step after this. Right, so that's heat shrink done, and I did train the cable to stick a lot more straighter than it was beforehand, which will be nice, but there's still a natural curve in it. I've tried to go with that. I've also arranged the cables so that they are in a predictable orientation at each junction here. Makes it a lot easier to trace a cable fault. Not that we're probably going to have one. I've left this last bit of heat shrink unshrunk because I intend to use that right next to the plug. So this one, I'm going to get, what I think I'm going to do here is, because I don't want to melt things with this torch, I will turn these into solder cups in the vise in the shed, not on my good melty desktop. I almost melted my screen with that torch before, so I'm glad I got spares of them. So I'm going to try and get these guys organised and trimmed to the right length to fit into those connections. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, again, going to do this off camera because I'm easily distracted today. Alright, here we go. We have them soldered on. Hopefully in such a way that they will fit in the back of the plug. But they're on rock solid. I got them nice and hot with this big torch, and then I just wicked solder in the back as they got hot. So hopefully I don't put them in upside down like I did last time. And let's use the positive wire in the right one for a start. I marked that with a bit of heat shrink that I haven't shrunk down yet. So we go that way up. I think, yes, that way. Triple checking because I cocked it up once before. Now, see if we can get this in here, and I'll try and do it on camera. These black leads are actually kind of difficult to see what's going on in them. So, okay, I see what's going on here. I'm going to have to do a bit of finagling. We'll get this in off camera and we'll show you the end product. Alright, well, I feel like I've just finished up on a night at the curry house. With this one, well, I don't know, what makes you constipated, because it felt like I pushed out the biggest turd I ever have. I finally got them all in here with a little bit of mushing in the back there. But the cable is done. I'm going to do some heat shrink on here, and the thing is the most unruly cable I've ever seen. Probably because the sheer volume of copper in it. So anyway, I'm going to get this heat shrink sorted out, and then we will go and test our lead and see if we can blow a 250 amp fuse. I'm liking Mr. Stoner Torch Senior. I think that's what I'm going to call it. See if I can get this guy over here. I'm going to pull all this in a bit. I've got to remember not to put that thing down facing the monitor. I think I might put a warning label on it. Okay. Alright, not the most glamorous bit of heat shrink, but it should keep the cable sort of in line. We'll let this cool off. We'll go outside and test. Right, we are back outside and our camera angle is slightly wrong. So let's have a look here. I took our cables up in the keyed position. We'll lock that on. Now let's just double check our cables. We have our two A cables here. I'm going to follow them all the way back and make sure that they are indeed positives that I have put on before I plug it in, because I don't want to have to blow that fuse. Those are indeed the two positives. Those are indeed, those are indeed the top two at the keyway, because the bottom two and the top two, so one element is between these two, our blown element is between those two, which means we are putting common across both of these. So let's have a look here. Right, that should be good. Our main switch is off. Let's pull our other Anderson lead out. This is what I'd been using before, was some push terminals wired backwards, or ring terminals. See how we go here. That is much easier to connect. See if we blow a fuse. Alright, I'm going to go check our current usage. Let's do that. So according to this, we are pulling 13.1 amps and my panels are probably putting in about 10 of that. Let's check what the panels are putting in. Around the side here, let's pull our volts down to about 24 volts, putting about 5.7 amps in. So if we add the two together, what have we got? We've got about 12, 13 amps plus about 5. So we're putting about 17, 18, about 20 amps is about normally what it pulls. I think 22.5 amps is what it should pull on one element, because the whole thing's rated at 55 amps. But this is already pretty hot. I boiled it about half an hour ago, actually just before I started working on this. So it will probably boil pretty quickly. Let's swing you out here and see. We are sort of simmering away already. So that might account for a slight change in resistance. So yep, we're going to leave that go till it gets to a rolling boil. Alright, so my cable makes a nice little elegant turn around the corner here, and we can tuck it in like that if we're working inside. The Anderson plug fits nicely. My big 250 amp isolation switch is doing its job quite well. Everything actually seems to be working well. These cables are nice and cool. However, the 6mm stuff I'm running here is running at about 30 degrees. So we're also boiling nicely. Now for running on one element, this works pretty well. If it wasn't for the resistance change after the first time I ran it, I would have suspected they've hooked both elements in series. But I don't know. Anyway, this is working pretty well. I might even make a cup of tea out of this. Right, well, time for a bit of a test run anyway. I've got my new favourite J-Car mug. I'm going to stick a link at the bottom here. These guys aren't sponsors, but they're very, very helpful. They did give me the free mug, but I'll tell you now, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without them. They're seriously, actually a really essential business in the town. Alright, so I'm cleaning the mug out. I didn't wash it down after the last hot chocolate I made in it. So we're using some of this as wash water. But that's really nice. I'm happy with that. So yeah, it's working well. You know what I reckon they ought to do? They ought to make thermal reactive mugs with this black coating. It'd look pretty cool. Anyway, that's pretty well it for this episode. And I think somebody commented on the previous video going, this is the heart and the soul of the British military. I can imagine how, certainly. Previously I'd had experience with more modern versions of these in armoured vehicles, but most of the time I spent in armoured vehicles was in recruit days. I didn't really get to go on them in operations, so I had heard stories about these, and I had seen them in use but never actually been able to have a hot meal from them. I used to get my rat packs and pretty well eat them cold most of the time, and in a hurry, and then I had to hurry up and wait. But you know, that's the military for you. So but now I've got the time to take my leisure and actually enjoy these sort of things. I like the neighbours that speed past. Anyway, we'll see you all in the next one, and this is probably one of about 3 videos I can find on these. I couldn't find videos anywhere. For that matter, the closing bit here, I'm going to show you the placard plate here and the serial number. This may change. I have found somebody that has 2 of these in the country. He has 2 with both working elements, so we might do a trade. He has his for looks, I'm using mine for function, so we might do a trade, and I'll refurbish him with a bit of cash, and we might get a new one at some point. But yeah, they do say 55 amps. This is pulling about 22 or 20 amps or thereabouts. So, and one element has gone open circuit, so definitely it's cooked an element. That ought to have been that puff of smoke when I first tested this. By the way, that noise you hear, that's a PC-21. It's one of the roulettes flying overhead. So, they've replaced the PC-9As. I think that's about all I've got to say in this video, so hope you've had fun. I'll see you in the next one. And yeah, hope you have some fun.